Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Month of the Full Moon, here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a film from 2011. That movie is Gingerdead Man 3 Saturday Night Cleaver. And as much as I'd love to say that subtitle sucks, it's vastly better than the subtitle that was affixed to the previous Gingerdead Man film. That subtitle, of course, was The Passion of the Crust. At least this subtitle kind of works because I gave the back a bit of a read, and in this film, our titular Gingerdead Man finds himself in a time machine heading back to 1976, where now he gets to slash up people at a roller boogie contest. Yay! As many of you know, I covered the first two Gingerdead Man films the last time I did a Month of the Full Moon. Was not a big fan of those. I don't know why I decided to cover the third one. I guess it's just because I wanted to see if the series could possibly get any fucking worse than those first two. Actually, the first one wasn't terrible. The second one was, though. I'm hoping this sucker is not like a gradual downward slope. I'm certainly hoping that the quality's able to bump itself up slightly. I have my doubts on that. In fact, shit, I don't think the sucker's going to be good in the slightest. But the only way I'm going to find out if this sucker's got any kind of redeeming value at all is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Gingerdead Man 3 Saturday Night Cleaver. You know, guys, I was expecting a lot of things going into this movie. I wasn't expecting a Friedberg and Seltzer-esque, just non-stop parade of bullshit parodies. Actually, no. To compare this to Friedberg and Seltzer is a terrible insult. At least this thing is trying to hide the fact that we've had blatant parodies of The Silence of the Lambs, Carrie, Bikini Car Wash, Breakin' 2, and at least 12 other films in the first 15 minutes. Mind you, none of these have been funny, the dialogue has been complete shit, and I really hope that this thing gets, better, but I have a feeling that it's not going to. Out of all the things that would get referenced in this film, and believe me guys, there have been a ton of film references, was not expecting a Porky's reference. I also wasn't expecting to see the Gingerdead Man's dick get ripped off, but that honestly is just sort of fucked up on a couple of levels. It's made even worse when the person who rips off his dick then goes and takes a fucking bite out of it. That is just absolutely magical, folks. My god, is this movie going to give me anything decent outside of a slightly promising, like fucking soundtrack? Swear to god, guys, the soundtrack's the only thing that's keeping me going. So this movie's trying to say that Pearl Harbor happened because everybody was watching some woman jumping barrels on roller skates, and FDR was there too? Okay. I'm going to assume that was supposed to be funny. Obviously wasn't. But then again, that kind of seems to fall totally in line with all the other jokes in this movie. Every last joke has fallen flat. Almost every reference has fallen flat. This movie, guys, is getting more and more painful to sit through, and I can't wait for the son of a bitch to end. So, guys, I believe I've now seen the most interesting kill this movie's going to offer as our Gingerdead Man swapped a fucking DJ's coke with what looked to be drain fucking cleaner. It was kind of sort of creative. I mean, it was kind of sort of a shitty kill, as it is, but it was still more interesting than any other kill in this film, which was kind of boring too. God damn. Guys, these sorts of movies are supposed to, live on their kills. This movie's kills have been kind of shit. Well, guys, that was Gingerdead Man 3 Saturday Night Cleaver. Jesus fucking Christ. Give me a moment. I've talked in the past about how I can't stand movies that just say fuck it and use fucking time travel in a really bullshit way to undo everything. Specifically, I brought that up when I reviewed the fucking Prince of Persia film. At least that didn't undo the first couple of minutes. This thing undid everything. I'm not even joking, and it doesn't make a lick of sense. Alright, without trying to go into spoilers, without trying to spoil much, the ending involves the time travel remote which the Gingerdead man stole, which I should mention, we're told at the very start, is only meant, it's built only to send basic foodstuffs back in time in order to try to stop world hunger, which is why the Gingerdead man is able to take it and launch himself randomly back to 1976. So why then, maybe about a third of the way into the film, these two kids find it and suddenly are able to travel back in time. And you know what? Well, you know what? What the fuck? I'm gonna spoil it for you. The kids come back. They bring with them Adolf Hitler, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, Lizzie fucking Borden, as well as our Clarice Starling knockoff from the start of the film. And they all rise up and they rip the fucking Gingerdead man apart and jam him into a cookie jar. I don't know why. I don't know why we needed all those people. I guess it was just so that way they can say, hey, look, it's 1976 and it is a fucking roller, disco. And look, it's Hitler and Dahmer and Manson. And also Lizzie Borden. Because fuck you. Oh, Jesus. Oh, and also because they went back in time, they then basically undid every single kill we saw. They were able to add closure to the whole break-in, we have to pay to save the disco plot. They basically undo every single conflict, every single death, every single kill. It renders this entire movie pointless. I'm saying this now. I'm letting you guys know. I spoil the ending so that way you don't have to sit through just so that way you don't have to sit through the 75-minute waste like I did. How the hell are human beings supposed to use a time machine? And to top it off, it wasn't even... And the fucking remote is not even the time machine itself. It's just the remote for the time machine. The actual time machine is still in the present time in the prison for lunatic baked goods. No, I don't know why there's a prison for lunatic baked goods. Please don't ask. I also don't know why scientists would be developing a time machine in said prison when it would be the easiest way for any of these lunatic baked goods to escape if they happen to break out. None of that is ever explained. It's all basically for the sake of fucking contrivance. I don't know why any of that happens. I don't know how the kids are I don't know how the kids are supposed to travel only using the fucking remote. I don't know how the Gingerdead man expected to go home using only the remote when the actual device that sent him back was still in the present time. None of that is ever fucking explained because the writers never cared. I might as well start with writing because that really, guys, is just sort of the tip of the bullshit iceberg that is this film. Okay, so, besides the fact that for the third time this month, I've gotten to complain about time travel shit because this movie decided to use it as basically a reset button to undo everything. I also mentioned the boatload of references and parodies that hit us way early on in the film. Funny thing, the moment that I mentioned that is when almost all the references stopped outside of people just randomly blurting out the names of songs from the 1970s, which sort of tied loosely into the fucking dialogue. So we basically get hit early on with references to Carrie and Breakin' 2 and Bikini, Car Wash, and a bunch of other films. And then it just slowly turns into this, parody of Carrie, except the Gingerdead man's also there and he's killing people in the background because apparently to just do a fucking because to basically do a roller disco version of Carrie is just foolish. I don't know. Our characters here are all flat and lifeless. The only one who has any level... fuck. None of them have any level of personality. Jesus Christ. No, I normally can say that there's at least one. No, there is none. I guess if we want to say that the Gingerdead man is clever, at least there's that. But even then, that's kind of sort of a lie. because he basically just walks around and he screams a lot. I want you to imagine if Sam fucking Kinison was about this fucking tall and lost all of his fucking humor, and we'd have the Gingerdead man. Oh, and also if Sam Kinison was a brutal murderer who killed people in rather boring and lazy fashions. I might as well talk about the kills, because that, guys, is something that these sorts of movies sort of, live on, is having interesting kills. You wouldn't watch, like, Friday the 13th, Halloween, any of these others, if the kills were boring as shit. There has to be either some tension or there has to be something cool. Here, he guns down 3 people with a fucking nail gun, which apparently has the same firing rate as a motherfucking M60. He swaps out the DJ's Coke with Drano. He is able to swap the hose that the three of the women are washing a car with. He's able to switch it from the water main to this giant tank of hydrochloric acid, which apparently is used to clean skate fucking wheels. Swear to God, they actually have a big sign on it that said it's used for cleaning skate, wheels. So then he's able to melt all of them down, and another guy, he chops up his legs with a fucking axe, and apparently that kills him. Oh, and then he shoots a bunch of people and all that shit at the very end. But of course, none of that matters, because the movie undoes every last bit of that. So, we not only have boring kills, but they're boring kills that have no fucking weight, because they're all undone at the absolute last minute. Oh my God. Was there anything good about the writing? Not really, no. And the acting, I will say that the acting at least is passable. Alright? As much, guys, as I can rail on this terrible writing, at least the actors tried. And that is more than I could say about almost anything else in this movie. At least the actors tried. They didn't try very, well, or most of them just naturally suck, but at least they tried. And that's the most I could ever ask for. Let's see. Soundtrack. I mentioned the soundtrack earlier. I mentioned that the soundtrack is one of the few things I basically was watching the movie for, because every time that we're treated to a dance sequence, it's nothing but sound-alikes of popular disco songs. And they're actually some of the better disco songs. You can sit there and you can listen to them, and you know what each one is. In fact, hell, they actually even have a couple of sound-alikes that aren't disco. Like, there are these 2 characters who get completely fucking high on a little bag of drugs, and the sound-alike there sounds like a Doors sound-alike. It kind of sort of sounds like a weird mix between The End and Riders on the Storm. It kind of sounds like a sound-alike mishmash of the both of those, and that piece was okay. Everything else is all just sound-alikes of disco songs, and it's okay. As much, honestly, as I can't stand disco, at least the fucking sound-alikes here were decent. Of course, I say that, and then the second half of the film, we drop every single sound-alike, and now it's just a boring soundtrack that doesn't sound like much of anything, especially since they're trying to do these high-impact scenes where Cherry is talking to her aunt, and her aunt is trying to talk her out of skating, or her aunt's trying to talk her back into skating because she has this gift, and we hear this real pounding, or we have this almost supposedly pounding, or it's supposed to sound like one of those, like, touching orchestral pieces, but it sounds like shit. So even the soundtrack tapers off in the second half and becomes complete garbage. Special effects. The few times that they use practical effects, it looks awesome. When we actually get to see stage blood, which is actually when the guy is getting his legs, chopped up, that looks pretty good, especially considering the fact that the film has a low budget. I can totally say that at least that looks cool. However, that's also one of the only there is also a little bit of makeup effect when the women are doused with the acid, and there's basically makeup on them to make them look as if they're like melting. Unfortunately, that is also mixed with some terrible CG, which is supposed to look like their skin is peeling. The problem is that the peeling sores might start here, and as the woman's moving, the person who was doing the CG wasn't able to track it on their head, so they basically are like moving like this, and the wound is traveling all over their fucking forehead, or if it's basically, or let's say that it's like on their arm, it's like traveling all over their entire arm. Same thing when he kills the three people with the fucking nail gun. Instead of just putting nails in, or instead of putting like stage nails all over the people's bodies, it's all CG nails, and all of them are like floating around on the body because they can't track the body in order to make the CG work. We're also treated to copious amounts of CG blood, CG bullet wounds, CG bullets. Everything I cannot stand is in this film, and it's somehow worse than any other instance of CG blood or CG squib work I think I've ever seen. We also have the terrible CG lightning, CG sparks, CG flame, I believe, in one shot. And of course all of that is topped off by the fact that any shot of our titular killer, walking or running, it's all done with a CG model that looks nothing like the puppet they use in the fucking close-ups. It looks hideous. Special effects guys are absolutely terrible in this film, which is absolutely tragic because Full Moon is normally better at this. I mean, I've kind of sort of given up on them having puppets whose mouths are willing to move with the dialogue. I kind of gave up on that after watching all three of the evil, Bong movies, as well as the first two films in this series. So that much there I was going to let pass. Which is funny, because in the opening scene when we're in the baked goods prison, almost every single one of them actually have decent fucking puppet work, except for our title character. So makes me kind of wish that we followed the big pan of Rasta pot fucking brownies, because at least that was puppeteered well. At least better than this. Yeah, what else? Is there anything else to really talk about with special effects? Not really. Camera work here is decent. Our lighting is good. I do have to comment when you're doing... I do have to comment on something, and it has nothing to do with special effects writing or any of that. It has to do with your set design. I don't normally get to talk about the way that a set is laid out, but I'm going to just make this point real clear, guys. When you set a movie in 1976... or, hell, if you set the movie in any specific year, you cannot keep things in the background that don't match. I found myself just looking at the shit in the background and wondering how the fuck is that sitting there in 1976? So, when you see a Simpsons arcade machine turned on, and it actually has the fucking lights on, and you can see the screen and everything, you wonder, what the fuck is that doing there? When we get the big killing spree towards the end, an actor is standing directly in front of a House of the Dead arcade machine, and we get to watch them die, and then the camera all but focuses on the House of the Dead machine in the background. For those of you who don't follow video games, don't know much about the history of video arcades, House of the Dead wasn't a thing in 1976. And even though The Simpsons feel as if they've been around for forever and a day, their video game wasn't out in 1976 either. It really is, guys, just one of those things that is just going to pull you out and it's going to bug the fuck out of you. At least if you're someone like me, when the movie itself is boring as shit and you basically are just staring at the background trying to see if you can identify the shit in there. And I saw the House of the Dead machine and I saw the Simpsons machine, and it kind of threw me off a bit because this is supposed to be 1976. And then I started seeing if I could find anything else that was, out of place, and almost every single arcade machine in the background is not shit you would have found in 1976. It really is just a minor detail that nobody else is ever going to notice, I think. But I totally did, and it did kind of bother me. Ultimately, guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Gingerdead Man 3 Saturday Night Cleaver? No. Similar to the previous two films, this thing is a borderline unwatchable turd that I'm still wondering who the hell produced this. Charles Band wasted money to make this thing. I understand that Band worked on the first two. That actually is his only credit, too, is he is the fucking producer. Charles, you could have put your money towards anything else, man. You really could have. You could have put it towards making Puppet Master motherfucking 11, but no. Make this instead. Oh my god, no, guys, I cannot recommend this. Out of everything that I've seen from from Full Moon. This franchise may very well be. I was just about to say the worst, and then I remembered Demonic Toys. Demonic Toys is certainly the worst from Full Moon Features, but this son of a bitch is coming in a real close second. There's no way I can recommend this movie. It is absolutely terrible. Worst part is, I have one more movie with this fucking character to sit through this, month, and I fear it's going to suck. But that is me jumping way off topic. I do need to mention that Gingerdead Man 3 Saturday Night Cleaver came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in is a friend of mine, Stu, and you can find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/thevodkahaze. Stu, I thank you. As disturbing as this is going to sound, I actually was kind of curious if this was going to be any better than the previous two films. It most certainly isn't, but I was still willing to give it a shot, and I wouldn't have known if this thing was as bad as it wound up being if you hadn't sent it in, and for that, dude, I thank you. Once more, that is youtube.com/user/thevodkahaze. Holy fuck. I mentioned Puppet Master. I'm still in kind of a mood to watch more stuff from Full Moon Features. I still have all the Puppet Master movies around here. I'm going to go find one. I think I'm just going to go marathon Puppet Masters 4 and 5, because I remember those being exceptionally awesome. Just simply so I can wipe the memory of this shit out of my fucking brain. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.